My name is Adam Kessler, and for a time I believed in fairy tales. Not the kind with dragons or glass slippers, but the kind where a man meets a woman, they fall in love, and the rest of life becomes a shared journey. I met Eliza one rainy evening in the most unromantic place imaginable, a grocery store. She was dripping wet, clutching a half-empty shopping basket and arguing with the self-checkout machine. I offered to help. She rolled her eyes, and somehow we ended up laughing in the parking lot like old friends. It was instant, unmistakable, real. We were inseparable from that night on. She had a softness in her that calmed me, even when I couldn't calm myself. I came from a family of cold calculations, businessmen, money, prestige. Love was a luxury we didn't talk about. Eliza reminded me that the world didn't have to be ice, that it could be warm and chaotic and full of little accidents that turned into miracles. Within a year, we were engaged. I proposed under the stars on a hill behind my family's estate. Eliza cried so hard she couldn't speak. I took her silence as a yes, and I was right. It felt perfect. But I should have known. Good things don't last in families like mine, not when money and power are on the line. Her name was Sophia, my cousin on my father's side. Technically my second cousin, but close enough to ruin everything. We'd grown up together, though we were never close. Sophia always had this strange, icy jealousy in her smile. She was the only daughter of my father's sister, and from a young age, she wanted everything I had. My toys, my friends, my grades, my place at the family table. I hadn't seen her in years. She'd moved away, gotten involved in some business, had a few scandals no one talked about openly. So when she showed up at my wedding, uninvited, I should have known she wasn't just there for cake. She came in just before the ceremony, dressed in a red velvet dress, her blonde hair styled like she was walking into a courtroom instead of a celebration, and in her arms was a little boy. Maybe two. He had my eyes. My eyes. Eliza, she called out in front of everyone, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this man you're marrying, he's the father of my child. The world stopped. I don't remember dropping the ring. I don't remember the sound of the guests gasping or my mother fainting. All I remember is the look in Eliza's eyes. Hurt, not confusion, not anger. Hurt. That was worse. I shook my head like it could erase Sophia's words. That's not true. I don't even know what. Don't lie, Sophia snapped, stepping forward. She held up a manila envelope like it was a weapon. I have proof. DNA results. His name is on the birth certificate. And she paused, letting the silence stretch. He forced himself on me. I was too scared to come forward before. But I can't stay quiet anymore. Not when he's playing the role of Prince Charming while hiding what he did. It was a lie. Every word. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but it didn't matter. Because in that moment, truth didn't matter. Perception did. The wedding never happened. Eliza disappeared from my life within days. My father pulled strings to try and keep the story buried, but Sophia had already gone to the press. The headlines were brutal. Heiress cousin accuses groom of assault at his own wedding. They didn't care that I had an alibi. They didn't care that Sophia had motive. The media just needed a villain, and I fit the part. That night I sat in my old room, the one I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. The family estate felt like a prison now. My mother tried to comfort me with tea and forced smiles. My father didn't speak to me at all. He was already in damage control mode, working with our lawyers. That's when I realized something chilling. Sophia didn't want justice. She wanted everything. The family name, the inheritance, the company, the power, and by destroying me, she got closer to all of it. But I wasn't ready to go down without a fight. The weeks that followed were a blur of court dates, media harassment, and sleepless nights. My lawyers advised me to lay low. The truth will come out, they said, but it didn't. Sophia filed formal charges. She presented medical records from 2 years ago, photos of bruises I had never caused, and a detailed timeline that almost lined up with mine, except for one key thing. I had been in Geneva that entire month on business. When I brought up the flight logs and hotel receipts, she claimed they were forged. Rich boys know how to cover their tracks, she said to the cameras. I trusted him, and he used me. Public opinion turned against me fast. My company's shares dropped by 43% in 2 weeks. My father, who once groomed me to take over his empire, now spoke only through lawyers. I became a ghost in my own life. And Eliza, she never answered my calls. One night, I went through old messages between me and Sophia. I hadn't spoken to her in years, until about 2 months before the wedding. She'd sent a single message then. I'm moving back to town. We should catch up. Family's family, right? I hadn't replied. Now I realized that was her first move. I hired a private investigator named Gerald Slate. He was rough, expensive, and borderline paranoid, but he had a reputation for digging up corpses others couldn't smell. I gave him one mission: find out what Sophia's really up to and who she's working with. What he uncovered chilled me to the bone. Sophia was broke. Her business ventures had failed miserably. She had dozens of hidden debts, bounced checks, and one attempted identity scam. She had tried blackmailing another man 2 years ago, ironically using a fake pregnancy. But this time, she had stepped up her game. Gerald traced her connection to a disgraced fertility doctor, Dr. Lenz, a man who'd lost his license in Germany for tampering with lab results. Guess who signed off on the DNA report she gave the court? You got it. Dr. Lenz. I brought all of this to my lawyer, thinking we finally had the weapon to destroy her story. But nothing is that simple. Sophia was 3 moves ahead. The night before the next court date, the doctor died in a car accident. Brake failure. The police called it mechanical. Gerald called it a cleanup job. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Sophia arrived in court in a white blouse, no makeup, and a trembling voice. She cried in front of the judge. He's trying to silence me like he silenced the doctor. I'm afraid for my life. The judge granted her a protective order and froze half my assets. She had turned the system into her weapon. I was now the villain in a story I hadn't written. And the worst was still to come. Gerald kept digging. He discovered that Sophia wasn't working alone. She had help from someone inside the family. That's when a name came up I never expected. My brother, Michael, younger by 2 years, always the golden child. Clean-cut, obedient, and never one to speak out. He had stayed quiet through the whole ordeal, not defending me, but I thought it was fear. Turns out it was strategy. Gerald intercepted emails between Michael and Sophia. They weren't just allies, they were lovers. Sickening, right? Michael and Sophia had planned everything. The fake child, the falsified medical records, even the accidental leak to the press. And they had one goal: push me out of the family business, discredit me, and secure full control under Michael's leadership. With me gone, Michael would become CEO. Sophia, through him, would get everything she was never born into. I confronted Michael in the old library of our estate. He didn't deny it. You always got everything, he said coldly. The name, the attention, the company. You thought you were the heir? You're just the distraction. I lunged at him. We fought like animals. Chairs broke. Blood spilled. Only when the staff pulled us apart did I realize something horrifying. Michael wanted me to snap. He wanted me angry, violent. It played right into the case. A day later, a second charge was filed against me. Assault. By now, I had nothing left. Eliza was engaged to someone new, a quiet banker in Chicago. I saw their announcement in the newspaper. Her smile looked real. My father disowned me officially, a public statement. We do not support or condone Adam's actions. The Kessler family upholds the highest standards. I laughed when I read it, or maybe I cried. It was hard to tell anymore. Then one night, Gerald showed up at my door with a flash drive. I found something, he said. The flash drive contained footage, grainy but clear enough. A hidden camera in Dr. Lenz's office. A woman, Sophia, handing him a check and a vial of someone else's blood. This will match him, right? She said on the video. Lenz nodded. Easily, no one will know. It was the proof we needed, not just of her lie, but of her intent. Gerald and I raced to the DA's office, hearts pounding. They took the evidence, promised to review. This changes everything, they said. But the next morning, the footage was leaked to the media, with one important change. My voice was edited into the tape, as if I was giving the order. Someone had tampered with the original. My last chance became my final nail. The DA dropped the investigation. Gerald vanished. His apartment was cleaned out. I still don't know if he fled or was silenced. I stood on a rooftop 2 days later, watching the city move without me, wondering how I had gone from lover to accused rapist to criminal in under a year. I thought about jumping. I didn't, not yet, because there was one more secret, one more betrayal waiting in the dark. I received a letter by mail, no return address, just my name. Inside was a birth certificate. The boy Sophia claimed was mine. He wasn't, because he had never existed. The certificate was forged. Sophia had borrowed the child of a friend, a struggling single mother. The payoff? $50,000 in cash and a promise of protection. I found the woman. Her name was Mia. When I tracked her down, she broke. I didn't know what she was planning, she said. She just said it was a role. I didn't think it would go this far. I wanted to go to the police. But what was the point? Sophia had already won. Michael was CEO. My name was ruined. My accounts drained. My records stained forever. I wrote a letter to Eliza. I didn't expect a response. But I wanted her to know one thing. I never hurt anyone. I only trusted the wrong people. She never wrote back. 1 year later, Sophia and Michael married quietly. The media called it a surprise romance blossoming from tragedy. My father attended the wedding. I moved out of the city, changed my name, started working construction under the table. I don't talk much, but every night I remember their faces. Every night I ask myself the same thing. How many lies does it take to bury the truth? Some monsters wear masks. Some drink wine with your parents. Some grow up beside you and wait for the moment you're vulnerable just to take everything. Trust is a luxury, and love in the wrong hands becomes the sharpest weapon of all.